everyone, and welcome to Dallas Hoops Fancast, a podcast for Mavs fans. I'm your host, Sydney, and I'm here with my co-host, Martin.
Hey, guys.
This is the third time we've done this intro. This is the for real one. Okay.
Oh, we're going to keep this one.
Yes.
Okay.
You can follow me on Twitter at _Sydney Myers. You can follow the show on Twitter at Dallas Hoops Cast. And you can listen to new episodes and read exclusive articles at DallasHoopsCast.com, where you can also read the latest breaking news and start shopping for Mavs gear and tickets. DallasHoopsCast.com.
We're done.
Okay.
All right.
Let's get started. So the Mavs played tonight in Vancouver against the Clippers. So we're going to do a recap of that, and then we have some other big stuff to talk about. The GM survey came out today. Buddy Hield got upset about his contract, which maybe the Mavs could slide in there a little bit, but maybe not. We're going to talk about that. And then also Bradley Beal signed his extension. Sad day for the Mavs because we might have been holding out hope. We're going to talk about that too. But first we'll start with the game recap. Okay, I just want to start by saying that I don't think the Mavs are going to lose again. I don't think they're going to lose another game.
Because they beat the Clippers in a preseason game.
So, first of all, they blew out the Thunder.
Without Chris Paul and Steven Adams.
Okay, it was a blowout. And then, very next game, it's a destruction of the Clippers, who are supposed to win the championship. But I don't know. Okay.
I think the late night is causing you to have a little bit of brain fog here.
All I'm saying is that it was a blowout. And Luka basically shut down Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
I will say I was surprised with... Well, one, I was surprised that they decided...
He guarded him the whole game.
Yeah, let me finish.
Well, not the whole game,
okay.
But for most of... while Luka was out there. What they would do is Luka would guard him, and they ran a pick and roll a lot with Kawhi and Harrell, and Maxey was on Harrell, but the Mavs were more than willing to switch that. And so,
Maxey's a good...
Yeah, so Maxey would end up... Okay.
Do you want to just do this one by yourself tonight?
No, let me just finish my sentence. Stop interrupting me.
Oh.
So Maxey would end up on Kawhi, and he actually played him really well. But then I noticed that, so the Clippers started, instead of attacking that matchup of Kawhi and Maxey, they attacked the matchup of Harrell and Luka on the switch.
Can we just get to the point? Like, what we really want to talk about...
So the point is that the Mavs blew out the Clippers, which basically, they're never going to lose again.
Let's get to the topic we all want to talk about. Porzingis.
Porzingis. Martin, what are your thoughts on Porzingis in this game? Let me share his box score. He scored 18 points. He had 13 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. He did have 2. 1 block got taken away. 2 turnovers. He shot 6 for 9 overall, 1 for 3 on 3-pointers, 5 for 6 on free throws. I noticed that he was focused more on the mid-range game in this game. It seemed like he was trying to get his rhythm there a lot, which I thought he did a good job of. And he only shot 3 3-pointers and, made one of them. So yeah, I thought, he did a good job of mixing it up. It was more like the old Porzingis, like what we've been waiting for.
Well, what we've seen...
And... I'm just kidding.
What we've seen this entire preseason with him is more of just kind of a spot-up shooter.
Yeah.
Which he's great at, but that's not all he is. Like, he is a guy that you can give the ball to and let him go to work.
Yeah.
And I think tonight you saw a lot of his versatility as a player. I think he'll end up shooting more threes than 3, obviously, throughout the season or per game. But... you just saw what he can do at his size at 7'3", being able to drive the ball the way he drives, runs the floor the way he runs it, and then his presence on the defensive end. And if he wants to be Defensive Player of the Year, like he said,
this was a good
indication that he might be able to do something like that. So I thought he looked great. I still am nervous every time he goes up for a dunk or something and he falls on the ground. As long as he gets up, I'm cool. But it's just for that fraction of a second where he's on the ground. I'm like, okay, get up.
Yeah. Well, one thing about it, though, is that he's clearly not afraid. Like, the injury is not in his head.
Well, he mentioned that himself. He said that it's he's not really even concerned about the knee anymore. So now it's just about playing basketball. And I think tonight you saw a little bit of that. He just felt comfortable to go out there and play.
Yeah, be aggressive around the rim and going after rebounds. And I think he had some awesome plays. He had
that dunk where he came.
the put back dunk.
Yeah.
He had 3 defensive stops in a row. One of them was a block. One was originally a block, but it was taken away. But then, the 2 stops right after that. And then he had some post plays. He, made the 3-pointer. I mean, he really did. He did it all. He did the things that make him the unicorn.
And he had a vintage, I don't know if it can be vintage
for a 24-year-old.
Yeah. But where he had the block a couple of times, whatever, he protected the rim, and then he ran the floor and on the other end got an and one layup. And that's kind of what you get with Porzingis, the ability to really impact the game on both ends of the court. He looked great tonight. I really liked what I saw. I liked what I saw from Luka, other than the turnovers, but the whole team was turning the ball over. I mean, the game is not over as of
There's
yet.
a minute and a half left.
Yeah, and they have 29 turnovers.
Yeah, well, Luka almost had a triple-double. He had 15 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 turnovers.
A couple of the turnovers were just like wrong place, wrong time kind of turnovers. And he was getting a little frustrated in that second. I think mainly because of the turnovers. Like some of them they called him on a travel that it wasn't a travel.
The refs have been tight with the traveling call,
which I
this
get.
Preseason.
There are times it's so funny because they have some blatant misses, like 5-6 steps, and they don't call a travel. And it's like, if you were able to call them all this time, why weren't you? Like now all of a sudden, okay, we'll do. Why did now the players have to adjust this ticky tack kind of travel calls, and I think it's going to be a problem of the first couple of months of the season. But
that and moving screens, I've noticed they've been really tight with
which
that.
I like because there's so many times
some players get away with it every time,
and it's like if you're going to call it both ways because it's a moving screen. And what I don't understand is do they just purposely choose not to pay attention to these things? And now all of a sudden they're going to pay attention to them. So I think you'll see a transition period. And I think tonight it's just kind of a fluke game with the turnovers. JJ dribbled one.
I know. He had a backcourt, an over and back.
I think he's probably had one over and back his entire career, and he happened to have one tonight. So I'm not really concerned about Luka's turnovers, to be honest with you. He had a couple of times where he had a shot and he decided to pass it, but he still looked good. Yeah. And Porzingis looked good, and they just look really scary.
They looked, and I said this in the last episode, and it's even more true now. They look like they're starting to look like a team. Mm-hmm. Their ball movement was even cleaner in this game and better. Just individually, they look like they're understanding the system better offensively and defensively. They're not passing up shots or taking bad shots. I mean, the offense is creating the shot that it should create. They're taking that shot. They look more cohesive, which I think obviously that's the point of preseason. And so I think it served that purpose. Not having Dwight Powell, it's like you're going to go back to this kind of learning curve once he comes back.
I mean, maybe not, because
just for one. It's more just chemistry of one player.
Yeah, I mean, Powell's been in this system for 4 years now, so I think he knows the system fine. He'll be able to fill his role, and Maxey kind of does a good job of filling in. Okay, so we saw Jalen Brunson start tonight.
Here is his line: 6 points. 5 rebounds,
7 assists.
7 assists. He shot 2 for 6.
Now, he only played in the first half, but this is quote unquote the Mavs dress rehearsal. So, do you take anything out of Brunson starting?
No, because of injuries. I don't know if it is injuries, but Curry didn't play. Mm-hmm. Dwight Powell didn't play. Dorian Finney-Smith didn't play, and I know that they don't play the same position, but that does change everything with rotation. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this means that Brunson is going to start. It could mean that Carlisle wanted to see what it would be like, but I don't know if it's a surefire thing that he's going to start.
Yeah, I think there's a better chance that Brunson is starting than Dorian or Justin Jackson.
I mean, I hope so.
Because Now, we mentioned this the other day. We were talking about it, you and I, not on a podcast, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brunson is starting. And I think that way you would have Brunson, technically at the one.
Yeah.
But, he's really out there to guard the one and play a different role offensively because Luke is your primary ball handler. And then you have DeLon at the 2, which is perfect because he's 6'5". He's got good size for that. And he's really out there to guard. So those are your 2 defensive guys. And then you got Luka and then Powell and Porzingis. So it's kind of more of a natural lineup, as far as size.
Yeah.
But Brunson has taken a huge step. Like, he looks like not only does he belong, but that he's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
And you just can't take him off the court. Another reason why I like it is it tightens up the rotation a little bit. So now your bench is JJ, Seth, and Tim Hardaway, which I really like Tim Hardaway playing with JJ.
Justin Jackson and
yeah, maybe. Those other guys you don't really know. Like, those could change. Yeah, those could change from game to game. But as far as tightening up it helps the issue of too many guards out there, because the Mavericks kind of have too many guards. And basically, you're taking the minutes away from Dorian Finney-Smith, which I'm perfectly fine with because I'm just not that high on Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't think he brings you anything. I think Brunson, what he brings you, far outweighs anything that you miss on the so-called great defense that Dorian Finney-Smith plays.
Well, they've been without Finney-Smith these last 2 games.
Haven't noticed.
And they blew him out, yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's preseason. So, it's hard to... Well, they blew out the Clippers. They're going to win. It's like the Lakers destroying the Warriors last night. Everybody's like, oh, my God, the Lakers are going to win. It's like, it's preseason, people. Curry didn't even play. And the Lakers came out like it was Game 7 of the finals. And the Warriors just came out like it was a preseason game.
So other notables, Justin Jackson had 18 points.
Oh, wow.
6 rebounds. I think that's his highest rebound game for the preseason. He shot 6 for 11. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 15 points.
He looked good tonight.
Yeah. He's looked, and I don't want to say he's looked good as in, I think he can average 19 a game like he did last year. To me, he's looked good as in he understands his role and how he needs to play in order to fit with Luka and Porzingis, and he's played that way. So I like what I've seen. Whether he starts or not, I think he's figured out what he needs to do to fit in, and I think that bodes well for the team. He shot 6 for 13, and that's pretty much
if you
the only notable.
Yeah, well, if Tim Hardaway accepts coming off the bench, which is really hard to ask a player to do, especially when the year before he earned a starting job. Now, granted, it was with the Knicks, and he was averaging 18 a game. I know his shooting percentages weren't really high, but the fact is he won the job.
Yeah.
And,
it's hard to make that adjustment when you're a player.
Yeah, especially when you feel like you deserve. Yeah. When you look at the other Mavs shooting guards, like, really, his competition is Dorian Finney-Smith and Justin Jackson, and he can't start. Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit for him to accept it. But if he does, you saw some really good chemistry with JJ and Tim Hardaway tonight.
Yeah. What did you think about Luka's defense on Kawhi? We briefly talked about it, but what did you think about it?
I always felt that when Luka is fully engaged and 100% effort on defense, he's a decent defender. Actually, maybe even a good defender because he has really good instincts.
Yeah, and his size alone is going to help.
And he doesn't have the quickest foot speed, as that was his biggest knock coming into the NBA, but because his anticipation is so good, he's able to be where he needs to be. So the athleticism serves no purpose whenever you just, have good anticipation. I thought he did a good job. There was a couple times where he forgot that he was playing defense against Kawhi. And normally he doesn't have to be that focused an entire game because he's not always guarding the other team's best player. I thought he did a good job, though. Kawhi really struggled, again, maybe because Kawhi wasn't really involved, but...
Yeah, that's one thing I was thinking about is Lucas seemed to do really well on Kawhi, but I was like, how much of that is his defense and how much is just Kawhi? It's the preseason.
Yeah.
Like, Kawhi finished 5 for 19, and he had...
19 shots is a lot of shots.
2 turnovers, yeah. So, it's like, I don't know, if it wasn't the preseason, maybe those shots go in, maybe he's more focused, or maybe Luka did, and Maxey also played good defense on him. So
no, I think
I mean, at the very least, he didn't get torched.
Yeah, he's not your defensive stopper.
Yeah, so the least that we could say is, oh, well, it's preseason. But that's better than him getting torched and being like, crap, it's preseason. Kawhi wasn't even trying.
Yeah, what's important is if you are going to test out the Brunson at the starting point guard, then when you play the Clippers, Luka's going to have to guard either Kawhi or Paul George.
True.
Because you can't put Brunson on one of those guys. So there's going to be a team or a couple of teams where if you're going to play Brunson, Luka's going to be stuck guarding somebody. Now, at the same time, I doubt the Clippers want to put Kawhi on Luka the entire game. In a real game, you just don't want to do that to your best player.
Yeah,
so,
it's it'll be interesting, because that's the other part of it is like, do I want Luka having to play defense for 48 minutes, for 38 minutes and lead the team offensively?
No,
so
you don't want to ask that. So I think against the Clippers, it's a little different just because of the matchup.
When you face a team that has so many good players, everyone has to play defense. Yeah. Everyone's going to be exhausted at the end of it.
So is the other team.
Part of it, yeah. Last point, Luka and Terrence Mann kind of got into it. What'd you think about that?
I thought Luka was more frustrated because he had like literally 3 straight turnovers. One of them was a offensive foul that was not an offensive foul, and then a travel, and it was not a travel. It was
one of the ticky tack.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Maybe that the travel is whenever they got into it, and I think he was more frustrated with the fact that he kept getting called for turnovers. And then Terrence Mann, he's trying to make the team. He's got to get in his face.
One thing I've noticed, this is the second time I've seen a player slap the ball out of Luka's hands after a whistle or whatever, and Luka really doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, it seems to be his thing that he just does not like. And, Terrence Mann, he kind of got under his skin a little bit, and I think Luka's going to have to accept, especially if teams watch this tape, they're going to be like, dude, if we want to get to him, just, not like that's their game plan, but they might tell the guy like, hey, maybe try that.
This isn't a situation where, it was Blake Griffin a couple years ago where knew if
everybody could get under his skin.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you did, though, he didn't play the same way.
Yeah.
Luka has never shown where when you quote unquote get under his skin, if anything, it makes him play better.
True.
Now tonight he got taken out of the game, right? Didn't come back in at all. So
I think all I would say to Luka is, the next time I talk to Luka.
Yeah. Well, let me call him and just let him know.
What I would say to Luka if I was the coaching staff is just, clearly players might do this throughout the season. If it bothers you, learn to not be bothered by it,
and that's
it's going to happen.
That's any player in the NBA that's new, especially if you're a star. It takes you a little bit of time to understand how to not let that stuff get under your skin.
Yeah.
So I'm not really that concerned about it.
Yeah. So, but that's it. It's their final preseason game. They win it 102-87. The regular season starts next Wednesday. And do you think Dirk will be at the game?
No.
Yeah.
No, I think he
probably doesn't want to draw too much attention to himself.
I think later on in the season he'll come in after they've established themselves and not make it about him.
Yeah. But yeah, those are our thoughts. Send us a message on Twitter at DallasHoopsCast or me at _Sydney Myers.
Or me at...
You're not on Twitter. Yeah. You're not cool. But let us know what you think about preseason. How do you feel they're coming together as a team? The rotations and the lineups that you've seen. What would you like to see for the starting lineup? Send us a message on that. But that's the game. Let's get to some other big things that have happened this week and today. Okay, so the GM survey came out today. There's a lot of good talking points in here. The Mavericks showed up a few times, and so we're going to get to those. We're not going to go through every question. I think we just have some highlighted. One that I wanted to start with was the question. Well, it wasn't really a question, but rank the top 4 teams in the Western Conference. Obviously, the Mavericks are not a top 4 team. The results were LA Clippers, Denver Nuggets, LA Lakers, Utah Jazz. And then Also getting votes were the Houston Rockets, Golden State Warriors, Portland Trailblazers, and San Antonio Spurs. But the top 4 vote getters were Clippers, Lakers, Utah. Also in that order, which I think maybe that means they expect them to finish in that order, or those were just the top 4 vote getters. I don't have any problems. Clippers, yes, definitely. Denver, yeah, I've heard talk that they could finish with the best record in the NBA, and I totally see that happening. The Lakers, yeah, I mean, I'm not totally sold on their supporting cast. I think people are seeing LeBron and Davis and are just kind of going all in on that. And it's like, I mean, I can't really blame you for that. But, I mean, I have questions about Rondo and JaVale McGee and Danny Green. You know, he can go through like long stretches where his shot just does not go in. So I have question marks about that. But really, Utah, people are really high. They come up later on in this survey. People are really high on them. And I'm just not. I mean,
okay, why?
I mean, I think they're going to be a good team. They made some great acquisitions, getting I get all
Bojan
of these bitches. Yeah, Bojan Bogdanovic.
That sounded like something else.
They got him, Mike Conley. Obviously, their core with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert is still there. They lost Derek Favors, but we never really thought that highly of him anyway. They did make some great acquisitions.
Yeah, Jingles.
And they still have a great core. They are going to be better, but people are talking about them like being the number 1 seed, maybe coming out of the West. I'm just not buying that because, first of all, Donovan Mitchell, he's still the Mitchell that struggled last year. And I think people are expecting him to turn it around to be better. But the last vision we have of him is not good. You know, like he would have to prove that wrong before I think all of these assumptions can be made.
Yeah, because they don't have right now, a true superstar. Donovan Mitchell would have to take that next step and become that guy. And, it's possible. It's going into his 3rd year, so he could very well take a leap. I'm not very high. I know everybody's so high on Mike Conley, most underrated point guard.
I know, okay.
Constantly, Mike Conley.
Yeah.
And yet, if he were that good, then
he would be that good.
Yes. He would have won more. He would have been all-star.
He wouldn't be underrated.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he would be that good. And that's...
Is he a quality point guard?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is he leaps and bounds ahead of Ricky Rubio? I honestly don't think so. I think if anybody's underrated, it's Ricky Rubio. Rubio's a really good defender. He's a really good game manager, really good passer. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's smart. Rubio is a really good point guard for that team.
The problem is his scoring. He can't really score. But, interestingly, that's kind of the question I have about Conley, too, is he's never been a great shooter. Like, for his career,
40%.
He's 44% overall. And then from the three-point line, it's 37.5%.
Which isn't bad. Yeah,
it's not
that's
terrible,
not bad.
But he's had seasons, just a couple seasons ago, he shot 31%. Couple of seasons before that, 36%. He's had numerous seasons at 36%. And he's just never, like, everyone has always known Conley is not a great shooter. But then suddenly when he goes to the Jazz, it's like, oh, he's going to help spread the floor for Donovan Mitchell. And I'm like, no,
I've always felt that people just ignored his field goal percentages.
Yeah.
As if, with everybody else, they have a purpose or they mean something, but with Mike Conley, because he's so underrated and this and that,
it can't
they don't pay attention to the
last
actual.
Year he shot 43.8% overall. The year before that, 38. Year before that, 46. Year before that, 42. I mean,
it's
he's just
really inconsistent.
Yeah, and he is a great player, and he was a big part of why the Grizzlies were so good, during their heyday, especially the way that he contributed to the grindhouse and the defensive mentality that they had. He was a big part of that, and he is a very good point guard. But I don't see that as that addition as like taking them over the top.
Yeah.
And I especially have a problem with people saying or having that opinion because
it's Mike
of
Conley.
his shooting or the way that he'll be able to spread the floor. I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't feel like the Jazz had a problem with spreading the floor because, I know Rubio wasn't
But they had
the best
Joe
shooter.
Ingles.
They had Ingles.
I mean, and Donovan is a scorer.
Donovan Mitchell
and
is a
shooter.
scorer. Yeah, and then
Rudy Gobert with the pick and roll.
Exactly. So I didn't feel like that was their problem. But we'll see. I think Utah will be a good regular season team.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll ever actually get over the hump and win a championship with that squad.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they'll be good. And I think Conley is a very good addition. I just don't think it makes them as good as people are saying. And so that's kind of what I have a problem with. But, for them to say at this, they have Clippers, Denver, Lakers, Utah. Utah got the 4th most votes for the top teams in the West. So let's say that we have them finishing 4th. I mean, I'm okay with that. I think that could happen, but I don't think they're going to be number 1 or 2, and I don't think they're going to come out of the West.
Even if they are record-wise, because
they're not going to come out of the West.
Yeah, they're not going to, when they face the Clippers or the Lakers, unless Donovan Mitchell becomes a bona fide actual superstar and delivers when he needs to deliver the most, then they'll be fine. But until then, they're going to be eliminated.
Yeah. I'm looking at more from the point of view of I'm taking what just happened in the past year or so with Donovan Mitchell and then with Conley, what he's been. I'm taking what we have. And then this is what I think it'll be like. Whereas I think a lot of other people are making assumptions about what Mitchell will be like or what Conley is going to, for some reason suddenly be able to spread the floor for them. I think they're making a lot of assumptions and all of those things could happen.
Yeah.
But they would have to prove the past wrong. They would have to change things.
They also talk about Mike Conley being the defensive stopper for Donovan Mitchell. But that's what Rubio was. Rubio doesn't get any credit for his defense, but he's actually a really good defender. And he was always guarding James Harden, or Joe Ingles was guarding James Harden. So, I don't see that. And Conley, in my personal opinion, the fact that he gets considered underrated so much makes him overrated to me.
You can only get underrated so many times before it's just not a valid point anymore, before you're not underrated anymore.
And is he a good player? Yes. Is he an all-star or is he the savior of the team? No. If he were an all-star or if he was as good as everybody says, he would have been an all-star.
Yeah.
But he's just not on the same level as some of these other great point guards in the league.
Okay, let's not I feel like we're trashing Mike Conley too much. I think he's a good player. It's just the way that people are talking about him. You wanted to talk about the Clippers?
Yeah, the Clippers, I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to say. I feel like I'm the only person in the world that doesn't think that highly of them. And I know Kawhi just won the championship. Okay.
Yeah.
I know he did.
You're doubting the guy that just won finals MVP. I don't know if you can make it work.
But let's be honest here. If Clay and Durant were healthy, he's not winning. And then is he considered the best player in the league? No. Okay. But because he hit a team that literally was Steph against them.
Yeah.
They won. So is he a great player? Yes. Is Paul George a great player? Yes.
He has won finals MVP even before that.
Yes. Okay. So, but averaging 17 a game. Let's not act like he went out there and dropped 35.
Yeah.
He won it because it was the Spurs. Who else were you going to give it to? Everybody averaged 17 points a game.
Popovich should have won.
Yes, probably. So, yeah. So, and then I don't like the fact that they don't have any diversity between Kawhi and Paul George.
They're the same.
They are the same
position.
Yes, and people say, but they're diverse. They shoot threes. They try. Yes, but they both do the same thing. And
at that position.
Yes,
yeah.
And so in this GM survey, they have Paul George as a shooting guard.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Okay, yeah, who are the top 4 shooting guards? Paul George. What?
Yeah, I never knew.
He's a forward.
Yeah. So one of them is going to have to play the 4. Another problem is their projected starting center is Montrezl Harrell. He's 6'8". Don't get me wrong. He's a bulldog. Everybody's going to talk about how great he is. And he is a good player, but he cannot defend the paint, in my opinion. He's too small. He can't at 6'8", you can't. Is he going to guard Porzingis? I mean, seriously.
I mean, he might. He's
yeah, so I would be curious to see how that goes with the pick and roll with Luka. And it's probably going to be Kawhi guarding Luka and Montrez guarding Porzingis. And I'd be curious to see how it goes. I personally don't think it's going to go very well for the Clippers because Harrell, I mean, he's too short.
Yeah.
And so even if he closes out on Porzingis, then I mean Luka's his height. So when Luka drives it, there's no resistance there at the rim. So I don't like that. I think they're going to get eaten alive on the rebounds. I'm the only person. Hold on, I'm not done yet.
You go.
I'm the only person in the planet that's not that high on the Clippers.
In the planet.
On the planet.
Are you inside?
Your face. Move on. Let's go.
Paul George has actually played shooting guard 17% of his career. 70% of games in his career. So it's not, I mean, it's like, okay.
That's a really big shooting guard.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, okay. So that's top 4 teams in the West. Hopefully next year the Mavs will be on there. I think that's a good target. Who will win MVP? So Giannis got the most votes here. I think one thing that's notable is that James Harden wasn't in the top 5.
Which is a little strange. I mean, the dude's going to drop 35, 37 points a game this year again.
Yeah, but it's all...
People are catching on. It's empty numbers. Like,
it's just not the same. And don't get me wrong, he does that. Like, you score those points, that happens, that's for real. I get it, and it's not easy to do that. But it's not the same. The way that... Steph Curry elevates players around him, or Giannis or LeBron.
Yeah, but
Harden can win games for his team by his scoring, but that doesn't mean he made the team better or he made his teammates better. And I think the proof of that is the fact that they don't win in the playoffs.
Well, and also they don't win because, well, first of all, his performance goes way down in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's just not the same player.
If he was the kind of player that made others around him better, that wouldn't matter so much. Yeah. Like Steph Curry sometimes struggles in the playoffs, but because he makes others around him better, they still win.
I agree, but a lot of people are going to say, what are you talking about? He averages like 11 assists a game. That's not the same as making
Westbrook.
Yeah. I mean, Kobe Bryant averaged over 5 assists a game.
Yeah.
Everybody knew he was like one of the most selfish players.
When they got Steve Nash, he started averaging double-digit assists.
Just to show Steve Nash, hey, I could have been a better point guard than you.
So I thought that was interesting. Another highlighted question I had, so Luka is on this one. If you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the NBA, who would it be? Number 1 is Giannis with 86% of the votes, so that's pretty much done. But Luka is on here too. He got 7% of the votes. You brought out that...
That's one team's
that's Donnie
vote,
Nelson.
So obviously that's Donnie Nelson. But I have a problem.
Okay.
And of course, Anthony Davis is voted. It's got to be from the Lakers. It has to be.
Because he also has 7%. Yeah, there's only 30 teams. So 7%, yeah, that's one team. Yes. That's one GM. It was
so
Donnie
I agree
Nelson.
with Giannis, but personally I'm picking Luka just because...
Yeah, but Giannis just won MVP. I mean, how do you not... Like, it should by default go to the MVP unless that guy is older.
And just not going to convince me. I'm taking Lukey every time.
Lukey. Okay. Next question that I thought was interesting. Which player is most likely to have a breakout season in 2019, 2020?
De'Aaron Fox was on here as number 1.
De'Aaron Fox is number 1 at 19%.
Didn't he just have his break? Like, how good are you expecting De'Aaron Fox to be? Like, I felt like 17 points and 7 assists is a really good year. And, what are you expecting from him? Jeez, Louise.
He shot 46% overall.
I mean, usually you make a nice jump going into your third year, but it's not breakout type season. Like Jaren Jackson is on here. I get that. It's his second year.
Jason Tatum is going to have a breakout year.
The great Jason Tatum is on here. Maybe I should... I mean, this is GMs in the league. Of course, this is 11%, so that means like
Boston
2 teams.
and I don't know, somebody else. Yeah. So, Jaren Jackson Jr. is on there. I've heard
Ingram.
that too. Brandon Ingram.
Like, okay, dude, what is this going his 6th season now or something?
Brandon Ingram could have a breakout year because he came out of the draft with a ton of potential. I mean, people were comparing him to Kevin Durant, mostly just because he has the same body type and kind of plays the same way. But Talent-wise, it just hasn't been there. But since the potential was there and he has all the physical tools, he could have a breakout season. I just doubt it because I don't think he has the skill for it. And I know people are talking about because he's in a different situation on a different team. That is valid. And I think that's one reason to have the hope. Again, like I said, he could have a breakout year, but I mean, my guess is that he's not going to. But
I think he's going to do the same,
same thing he's done. Yeah.
And it's a lot of empty points. Like they don't actually contribute to win. So he'll probably average 17, 18 a game on low shooting percentage or good shooting percentage. Who knows? And then, but it won't really have an impact on the team's win losses.
One player also receiving votes, Zion Williamson. Like, does that count if you're a rookie?
For having a breakout season, he's on there?
Is that like, does that meet the definition of a breakout season?
You know,
like
everybody
guess so.
is obsessed with Zion, and it's really starting to bother me.
Okay, next question I had highlighted. What was the most underrated player acquisition? So Mike Conley was number one, and that's obviously I had a problem
underrated,
with that.
yes.
Bojan Bogdanovic number two, again the Utah Jazz.
How can it be underrated when that's everything? That's all anybody's been talking about is Mike Conley. So how is that an underrated rule? Like or a move? Everybody's thought that that's a great move.
Malcolm Brogdon to Indiana was 11%. Jeremy Grant. I think the reason I highlighted this was probably because of Mike Conley. I wanted to talk about that. I think I also expected to be Porzingis on here, but I don't know why because wasn't
technically
that was a trade, not a summer acquisition.
And that was the last year. It was a summer acquisition.
Next question I had highlighted, which team will be most improved in 2019-2020? The Mavs are second on here. They got 21% of the votes. And I think that's fair. I mean, if you look at teams that could make a big leap, other teams got better and they will be
like the
better,
Clippers,
but like significantly better
compared to the wins they had last year.
Yeah, I think the Mavs qualified for that. I mean, it's basically like having an okay team and then bringing in like your MVP that was out for a season. Now, obviously, Porzingis didn't. I know he's not an MVP level player, but for the Knicks, he was their MVP. So it would be just like if he were coming back. So I think that's a good sign. I mean, GMs, people around the league obviously respect the Mavs as a team and that are going to be good this year. So that was encouraging. I like seeing that. Another question I had highlighted, which rookie will be the best player in 5 years? So the reason I highlighted this one is because
last year's votes,
yeah. So last year's votes were DeAndre Ayton and Jaren Jackson. They tied for number one at 27%.
The disrespect.
Yeah, I have a problem with both, obviously, because they're not Luka, but
they both. Well, see, last year Luka was projected to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and that's what surprised me. He was projected to win Rookie of the Year, but not to be.
And yet this year it's the same.
Yeah, and even Trae Young. I was like, okay, if Luka isn't going to be that, then Trae Young. But it was Jaren Jackson Jr., DeAndre Ayton, neither of which no. But second of all, DeAndre Ayton has really. He didn't. I mean, he had an okay rookie season.
16-10.
Yeah.
Like
if it wasn't for Luka and Trae.
Yeah, he would have won Rookie of the Year.
But in preseason, he's kind of struggled. Hasn't gone to the free throw line like at all. They're not really running the offense through him, or he hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities. I don't know if that's just because it's preseason, or maybe the coach Monty Williams just hasn't seen the potential there for him to lead the team. But yeah, neither one of them, I think.
This is a classic, size, length, athleticism. Yeah. They didn't even care about the player's talent as far as his potential. It was all his athleticism. And it's like, how many times are we going to be burned that a player's athleticism has nothing to do with how great of a player? Now, are there great players that are athletic? Yes, but they're not great because they're athletic. They're great because they know how to play basketball.
They're good. Yeah.
It's just so dumb. And yet people continue to sit here and harp on the athleticism and how long his arms are.
Yeah. Okay, a couple more questions I had highlighted. Who is the best international player in the NBA? Luka was third with 7% of the
Again, that's
votes.
one vote, so
Again,
Donnie
that's
Nelson.
Donnie Nelson. But hey,
Sticking up for his guy.
yeah, Giannis got 79% of the vote, that's like all of them. So, but
Jokic got 2.
we can pretend that Luka's vote wasn't from Donnie Nelson.
I hope it was. I don't want him voting for somebody else.
Next, okay, so then there were questions about coaching. Who is the best head coach in the NBA?
Yeah, this one surprised me a lot.
I was surprised Carlisle wasn't on there. And I don't know, you might be surprised to hear that since we want him to get fired every 6 months.
That's true, but that's just because of frustrated.
Yeah.
But he's not even on also receiving votes.
Yeah, so I'll do the list. Starting with number 1, Greg Popovich,
No
Eric
argument.
Spoelstra, Mike Budenholzer, Steve Kerr. And then also receiving votes, Steve Clifford, Doc Rivers, Quinn Snyder. Respect to all, but
Except number 2.
well, okay,
Eric-
Spoelstra, he's won some rings.
Okay, with
And-
LeBron, Wade, and
And
Bosh.
he has kept the Heat competitive,
Yeah, but they suck. It's like
but they always compete. They're always in the games. They're disciplined. They have a very
yes, to be number
respected
2.
system.
Like Steve Clifford could say the same thing,
and
he's not number 2. Rick
Yeah.
Carlisle does the same thing.
Rick Carlisle does the same thing, which
Yeah.
is what you could say. Like if Spoelstra,
Eric Spoelstra.
if Eric Spoelstra is on the list for what he's done with his team,
Rick
I think
Carlisle should be on there.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to want Carlisle fired in 2 months. So, I mean, we'll take this, for what it is right now. But yeah, I was surprised.
in the meantime, he's our guy. We're going to defend him.
I'm totally going to defend him. Yes, I was surprised by that. But he did make the list for which head coach makes the best in-game adjustments. He was number 1 on that, 28% of the votes. Brad Stevens, Quinn Snyder, Steve Clifford, Greg Popovich, and then Nick Nurse.
I guess Quinn Snyder and Steve Clifford are better coaches than I thought. I never thought really highly of either one, but the GMs apparently do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about what they've done in Utah once they lost Gordon Hayward,
They were still
and
good.
even the time that he was there with Gordon Hayward, I think he was there for Quinn Snyder's first 2 years or something is when Hayward was there. Yeah, I mean, they rose to prominence during that time. Gordon Hayward left and they were still competitive. Now they happened to draft Donovan Mitchell, but he's done a really good job with a team that I don't think anyone expected to be as good as they were. So yeah, I was a little surprised, but then when I thought about it, I was like, you know what, I can appreciate that. But yeah, so Carlisle number 1. In-game adjustments.
Which is true. He is really good at that.
Yeah, I guess I'm still thinking about things that he does that
Other
we
than the
hate.
posting up of Wes
Wesley
Matthews, and we
Matthews.
continue to do that.
Or
But
I'm thinking about times like when the Mavs couldn't score, maybe it was a close game, and they would go for extended periods without giving the ball to Dirk. Times like that, I think in game, there's some times when it's like,
dude, you're
the most
overcomplicating.
obvious
Yeah.
thing, is staring you in the face and he doesn't do it, or the thing to not do is what he does do. But I don't know, maybe that's I'm able to kind of like micro analyze it. Is that a word? Overanalyze it?
Yeah, there you go.
Overanalyze it because we watch every game. But I mean, I will say he does make a ton of adjustments in games. I mean, he'll change lineups. He'll run like a 5-guard lineup out there.
We're
going to
spend the rest of this podcast talking about Rick Carlisle
I'm defending him earning this spot since
until tonight, whenever we watch posting up of
he needs to be fired. Yeah.
Dorian Finney-Smith.
Is Finney-Smith playing tonight?
I don't know. It won't matter.
We
Won't have
record-
any impact on the team's win.
We
or
recorded
loss.
this segment before the game, so that's why I asked. And then I think last couple questions I had highlighted. Oh, which active player will make the best head coach someday?
Yes, randomly. Go ahead and do the list.
So the list is Mike Conley, Chris
The great
Paul,
Mike Conley.
Malcolm Brogdon, and Rajon Rondo. So let's first talk about Rondo. Obviously, very smart, intelligent. I get all of that. But just as a person, I don't feel like he would make a great head coach.
Likewise with Chris Paul. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody likes Chris Paul. Like none of his teammates. And why Mike Conley?
Because he's that kind of like cerebral sort of
So is every point guard in the league. Like, I feel like JJ Barea
Westbrook isn't. Yeah, well,
ouch. What a shot at Westbrook.
Not that Westbrook is stupid. He's not the kind of like analyze the game and slow it down and watch the pace.
Yeah,
and who needs the
I don't
ball.
know.
He's not that kind of player.
Mike Conley to be number one, you know.
But who else would it be? You know,
I would take JJ. I think JJ is going to be a great coach.
I don't think anybody even thinks about.
Yeah, yet they think about Jalen Brunson.
Well, okay, that's from Donnie Nelson.
Okay, well then vote. Why didn't he vote JJ? I guess he really thinks Jalen is going to be.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Okay, which team has the most promising young core? I was surprised Dallas wasn't on here. The list is, I mean, they're on
my God, the Pelicans.
They're on the also receiving votes, but okay, so again, that's probably one vote from Donnie Nelson. But the top 5 is Pelicans, Nuggets, Hawks, Kings, Sixers. I'm okay with Pelicans, Nuggets, Sixers.
I'm not.
Hawks and Kings. First of all, the Kings, who is their young core? I mean, it doesn't include
De'Aaron Fox,
but it doesn't include Buddy Hield.
Well, he's still on the team.
Yeah,
you know?
but I mean,
and then that's it.
Would you call that a core? If they don't even want to offer him a decent contract,
Marvin Bagley, the third.
Marvin Bagley. So again, but my point still stands.
But they're saying basically that because Atlanta has Trae Young and John Collins,
Reddish.
But then they also got Cam Reddish and
the Mavs have
DeAndre Hunter,
Luka and Porzingis. I mean, I know I'm a homer, but come on,
this is Trae Young we're talking about here.
Okay, so first of all, Luka's better than Trae Young. Okay, and then Porzingis, I think it's okay to take him over.
But we're
John
forgetting
Collins
we're
here.
forgetting number 1 here. Okay.
Oh, the Pelicans.
and it's because people are considering Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball sucks.
You know,
people.
He fixed his shot.
He sucks. Lonzo Ball. I would rather have Dennis Smith Jr. than Lonzo Ball on my team. Lonzo Ball sucks. Okay, Okay, so can we move on from the Lonzo Ball and then Zion? Okay, so you're telling me right now that Zion Williamson. Hold on.
Okay,
Zion and Lonzo Ball are better than Luka and Porzingis.
I think it's more about Zion than Ball. And I think they're taking...
that one guy is better than the 2 that we have?
But I think
he's not even better than the 1.
Zion, Ball, Ingram, Josh Hart.
Oh, because those guys were so good for the Lakers. The Lakers, weren't they a championship team last year? No, they didn't even make the freaking playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, Hart's going to be coming off the bench probably, so it doesn't count. But I think they're taking all of those players, but mostly Zion would be my guess.
I can't wait. I mean, look, Zion might be a good player, and he might be the best in the league. I don't personally...
I mean, I'm fine with being wrong about it. This is my prediction right now.
It's unfathomable. Unfathomable.
No. Unfathomable.
I don't understand why, and I think it's because Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball with Zion. And I'm sorry, I would rather have Porzingis over having Lonzo and Ingram. You know, like it's just I don't know. It drives me insane.
So the Mavericks also received votes, but again, I'm guessing that's from Donnie Nelson. Yeah. So I was surprised that the Mavs weren't higher up. I just thought, I don't know, Luka is Rookie of the Year. Porzingis was in the MVP conversation before he got hurt. And maybe they're just, I mean, I get it. He tore his ACL and he hasn't played in 2 years. So it could be that they're looking at it in that way, which is fair.
But then look at what Ball has done.
True.
You know, like if we're going to take into consideration
if you want to talk about a question mark with Porzingis because of his injury history or whatever, well, Zion hasn't played an NBA game yet. So there's just as much murkiness there as there is with Porzingis. Yeah, that surprised me. I think that's the last question.
And just Sacramento, like, so you're telling me Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox, and Marvin Bagley are going to be better than Luka and Porzingis?
Yeah.
I don't see it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so speaking of Buddy Hield, and this, we might not get to all of our topics. Depends on how long we want to run. But speaking of Buddy Hield, So his deal is expiring this summer. He's currently making less than $5 million, which is
This is rookie deal.
Yeah, it's his rookie deal. For some reason, it just seemed like he'd been in the league for longer than that. So he's making less than $5 million. He's up for an extension. He's not happy with what they offered him.
He was insulted by
it. There was a video that came out today where he was very honest and just, I mean, he wasn't, I thought he spoke very, fairly about it. He said, every guy goes out there and tries to earn a max contract. I mean, every guy wants a max contract, but not every guy gets a max contract, and that's fair. That's what I want, but I also understand maybe I'm not going to get it. I just want something that's not an insult. And of course, I'm like paraphrasing everything he said. He said, I just want something that's not an insult. And so it sounds like maybe they won't be able to make that work. Now, you said, before we even get to if the Mavericks could sign him, you said that it might not even come to that, to him being a free agent.
Well, if they don't come to an agreement, he's going to be traded. There's no way they're going to just ride out the season. We'll see you, and let him walk.
Because they would get nothing.
Yeah. So if they can't come to an agreement, then they're just going to trade him. So I don't know if they will come to an agreement. I kind of understand where the Kings are coming from. I mean, last year was the first year he really had a breakout season. Like, he averaged 20 points a game. He's a dead-eye three-point shooter, 43% or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's really his first year he's done that. But at the same time, at the contract, like, if Terry Rozier can get $19 million a year,
well,
I'm just saying, but I'm just saying, like, I think $22 million a year for Buddy Hield is a little low. Because especially in today's league where the premium is 3-point shooting and he's one of the best in the league, I feel like you have to pay him just for that one skill.
Yeah, I mean, trading that. So if the Mavericks do want him, which is the reason why we're talking about this, if the Mavericks do want him, then a trade would be...
It would have to be done via trade.
Yeah, it'd have to be a trade because this coming summer, so going into next season, not this coming season, but going into next season, they have $107 million on the books. So they really wouldn't have enough to sign him. Now,
no.
Tim Hardaway Jr. has a player option for $19 million. So, I mean, like...
Opt in.
If he opted out, then maybe it could work, but he's going to opt in. And so they really couldn't sign him unless they were to like dump some guys. But if the Kings wanted to trade him, then they could make that work.
Yeah, except the Mavs. I mean, if somebody said the Mavs have their first round pick this year or a first round pick, I don't know where that came from. If they do, then obviously the first round pick. But what else? I mean, they're not going to want Jalen because they have De'Aaron Fox. So I think it would have to be a third team would have to get involved, or they would have to want somebody from the Mavs that, okay, you can have him. Like they want Maxi Kleba or something.
Also, the money doesn't work with Jalen. He's only making 1.6 next year.
Yeah. I mean, well, Tim Hardaway would have to be a part of the trade.
Yeah.
No matter what. And so a team is going to have to want Tim. And now maybe the Kings like that alternative.
I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith.
Nobody wants Dorian. We don't even want Dorian.
I mean, if they hype him up enough.
Yeah, well, that's all. I don't know. I think the Kings may think, well, Tim Hardaway, yeah, we got to pay him the next 2 years, but then his contract comes off the books and whatever, he might be a nice alternative. It'll fit right into our system. Okay, we'll do that with the first round pick and Udai Baba or something.
Yeah. So they don't have Udai and Baba.
I know, it was a joke.
They don't have their first round pick this year, but they have some second round picks, it looks like.
Yeah, so the Mavericks don't have really any trade chips to give to get anybody. So I don't think they have a chance of getting Hield.
It's probably a non-starter, but if they wanted Hield, it would obviously have to be a trade. And I mean, like you said, he's a dead-eye shooter. Last year, he averaged almost 21 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He shot 43%, a little less than 43% from the three-point line.
But that's elite. Especially how many threes per game did he shoot?
Almost 8.
Yeah, that's elite level 3-point shooting.
Now, to your point, the year before that, he averaged 13.5 points.
Now, he had a breakout year.
Yeah.
And his style, there's no. I mean, obviously, I think he'll continue to get better. And he was a slow starter in college.
Yeah.
So I think he'll continue to be a good player. And I think the Kings need to pay him. And if they don't, then he's just gonna leave. So they're gonna trade him. But then, he'll want to go to where, he won't get. Yeah, he's gonna have to give a verbal commitment and all that crap.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a good 3-point shooter. Last year, year before last, I guess, he shot 43% from the 3-point line. Before that, 42.8%. Wait, no. Before that, it was 37% total, because that's when he got traded. And then his rookie year, he shot 39%. So, I mean, if nothing else, he's a good 3-point shooter. I don't know. I mean, the Mavericks probably are not interested in him. They'd
have to be, though, with his 3-point shooting ability. And
they'd have to be interested enough to, like, scout him a little bit and explore it, see what the Kings would be willing to give. I don't know if they really want him, but I would be intrigued. Like, I would look into it, and I'm sure they'll look at the analytics of his defense or the way he spaces the floor to see if he would work. But I perked up a little bit because I like Buddy Hield.
Yeah, my prediction is that the Kings will come to their senses and pay. They can't afford to lose him. Like, they've been in.
Who else are you gonna get?
Yeah, and they've been in this crap team for 20 years now, ever since their glory days of losing to the Lakers and the refs. They haven't been a very good team. Yeah. Yeah. So,
another player that was on our in our sights, Bradley Beal.
That one's gone.
Sad day. We'll pour one out for Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
He signed a 2-year, $72 million maximum contract extension.
Yeah, I don't know what the Wizards are doing. I mean, they have.
So hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
It includes a player option, so the total is 4 years. It will keep him for 4 years.
This year, 2 more, and then a player option.
Yeah. So 4 years, $130 million.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Like, not that the Beal is not a great player. I think he is, and he's an all-star. But they have so much money on John Wall and Bradley Beal, and they just haven't won with those guys. So it's like, why are you paying literally $300 million or something on these 2 guys, and they can't even win you a playoff series?
Yeah.
I get it. You don't want to lose them, but you may just, accept that these guys aren't going to get you over the top and try again with a rebuild.
Yeah. I mean, they got Bradley Beal and John Wall.
But that means nothing. John Wall, okay. Yeah. The thing with John Wall is, while he was injured, the league changed.
True. Yeah.
So if you can't shoot a 3 as a point guard, I mean, look at Rondo. I mean, he's not even really in the league anymore.
But it's the Lakers.
Yeah, but he's not the starter. Like, he's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
So it's and the Lakers signed anybody that would sign with him because they didn't have any money.
True. I mean, I will say, so the Wizards, they have a lot of money tied up this season, but next summer they have a lot of money coming off the books. Jan Mahimi, his contract expires. CJ Miles, he's making 8.7. He comes off the books. Davis Bertans, he comes off. Isaiah Thomas, Justin Anderson. So they have a lot of money coming off the books. They still have $100 million locked up. Plus, they're keeping everything open for the big summer where everyone thinks they're going to sign Giannis. So, like, literally every team thinks they're going to sign Giannis. So, I mean,
I hope that I wish that Giannis would sign an extension the moment it's available.
Yeah,
just so we can just move on, because you can't even enjoy an NBA season anymore, because as soon as a player is on his final year, that's all they talk about is where's he going to play next? Where's he going to? It's like, I would just
causes problems.
Yeah, just sign and move on, and then nobody can be, then we can just enjoy an NBA game.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of the end of the Bradley Beal thing. He's not a free agent.
I think this is the team, going forward until next year, unless something happens at the trade deadline. But the Mavericks don't have any pieces.
Yeah. Well, Donnie Nelson said in a recent interview that this is their plan. They have picks. I guess they're going to use what they have, and then try to get a solid pick. It's a deep draft, and then they'll have their cap space. And so he didn't necessarily say they're going to go after the big guys. Obviously, they will, but there's a lot of free agents available that they can go after to try to get better. And I think that's the goal. And like we say that every year, the goal is just to get better every year. Like you don't have to sign a superstar player, especially now since you have Luka and Porzingis. But if you do miss out if you do miss out on that guy, don't just give up and mail it in. Like there's plenty of solid talent out there that can make the team better. And so I hope that with that cap space, that's what they'll do, that they'll just go after the solid role players that will make the team better.
You mean like Bojan Bogdanovic and Malcolm Brogdon and all those guys? We just let them go?
This is for another conversation that will probably include a lot of screaming next summer. But, we'll enjoy what they have for now, and it's going to be exciting. The season is finally here. I'm excited. We got to go to a preseason game, and it was great. You saw flashes of what they could be, and it was so exciting. So I'm excited for the season. Thank you guys for listening through the off season in our first season when we start all the way back in January. Thank you for your support, for following, for subscribing, for following us on Twitter. Leave a rating. That helps others find us, and it really helps us to know what we're doing well or what we can do better. But that's it for this episode. Thanks, guys, for listening. We really appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at _Sydney Myers. You can follow the show on Twitter at Dallas Hoopscast. And you can listen to new episodes and read exclusive articles at DallasHoopscast.com. That's a website. Just FYI. That's it for the show. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.